Live original report. Growing fire danger in the Oakland Hills almost 30 years after a historic firestorm. Good evening, I'm Elizabeth Cook.
I'm Ken Bastida, and tonight people who raced to escape it back in 1991 are still telling horror stories.
And we saw the fire up in the eucalyptus there.
No time. Like in 5 minutes, it was like this.
And the neighbor was trying to hose down the roof. And my husband said, you know, we all need to get out really fast.
And now, after 2 years of catastrophic fires here in California, people across the state are wondering if their community is next.
And that is certainly true in the Oakland Hills, where KPIX 5's Wilson Walker is live for us tonight. Wilson?
Well, think about it. That 1991 fire was the benchmark fire in California for what? A quarter of a century. That was a generational event until 2017. Think about how the California fire history books have been just completely rewritten since then. So what does the fire risk look like up here in these hills now? Well, we went and asked a bunch of folks, and look, a lot of people have a lot of different opinions on this. Have a look.
We used to be able to see across the canyon. Now you can't because of the eucalyptus and the redwoods that have grown up.
At the end of those long, narrow, winding roads perched on the very edge of Oakland, Jerry Lips lives right on the city's WUI, that wildland-urban interface.
This is all Joaquin Miller Park down here.
This city park, just one piece of the region's open space, and neighbors say it's a disaster waiting to happen. They point to years' worth of accumulating fuel loads right beside the adjoining neighborhoods.
So we don't even have a 30-foot break.
So nearly 30 years after the firestorm, Jerry doesn't see the danger getting any more manageable up here.
My estimate is a doubling to tripling of the fuel load in this canyon.
And so we've deployed several hundred goats here on this ridge line to basically create an upper level fuel break here.
Vince Crudell is in charge of vegetation management for the Oakland Fire Department. These goats are just one part of the city's $1 million effort to reduce fire risk in these hills, but the city does not have an actual vegetation management plan. That, for now, is still a work in progress.
We're basically trying to outline what it is we intend to do on an annual basis during the fire season and the mitigation practices that we'll adopt and deploy in the future.
But it's not just fuel management that has people concerned.
I don't want you in there. I want you out of my place.
Neighbors also worry that there is no plan for how to get people out of these hills, something that proved chaotic in '91. They point to communities across the Bay Area that have been doing some evacuation education. Oakland so far has not.
No, and they don't talk about it. The others just say, oh, well, we can't tell you because we don't know which way the fire's coming. And why do other cities have plans? And our answer to that is there are only so many roads people can take to get off the hill.
Sue Piper has spent years trying to nudge the city towards a more aggressive fire safety program. She thinks the city's wildfire budget should be doubled, and as for evacuating,
if they're having to evacuate as a family or they're in a group, so they can understand again what the possible routes are depending on where the threat is coming from.
Glow sticks, goggles, flashlights.
Bonnie Bowie and Doug Mosher are taking matters into their own hands, building out their own disaster command center to be staffed by the neighbors themselves.
These are field supplies, gloves, tape, paint, mask.
The idea in this garage and others like it is pretty simple. Help cannot be counted on.
So people need to understand that and do what they can to be as prepared as they can.
I lost my home in 1991. You cannot wait for the cavalry or the city or the fire department to come save you.
So while the city continues to draw up plans and search for more funding, a lot of neighbors are growing impatient.
There is more to be done, to be quite honest, but every government entity, every city fire department, fire district department is going to have financial constraints.
Put the money in that's necessary.
And prioritize.
And prioritize it, right.
Just ask anyone who was here in '91. The risk is real, and it's only a matter of time before the next fire.
Everybody in the neighborhood needs to be informed. They may not want to do it, but their lives are on the line if they don't.
Right, so as this conversation has been going on in the hills, the Oakland City Council has been negotiating a budget, and they have come up with a little bit more money for exactly this kind of fire prevention. And Sue Piper wanted $2 million for fuel management. She's going to get it, but only for 1 year. Then those funding levels kind of go back to about where they are now. There will be more fire inspectors, but it is hard to wrap your head around how big the challenge is up here. It really is a challenge as large as the hills. And Ken, as you know, fires don't really respect lines drawn on maps. They kind of go where they want to go.
Absolutely right. Wilson, I was up there in 91, covered that fire, and everything behind you was completely burnt down to the ground. Yep. It was absolutely just nothing but ash there. It's amazing to see how much of it has grown back. And it's not just homes up there in the hills. You have parks, you have the Lawrence Berkeley National Lab, you have all sorts of other buildings now. Everything's grown back up. Is there a plan for those types of places if another fire rolls through that area?
Well, you know, we've been talking about Oakland, Oakland and its level of preparedness. Of course, you drive a little bit further down the road, as you mentioned, there's Berkeley, there's Lawrence Berkeley. Head out this direction and you have, you're heading out towards Diablo. And again, you know, as you mentioned, the problem is the size of the East Bay Hills. And I think what you're going to see is a lot more coordination amongst all these groups with the state and CAL FIRE to try to come up with a larger, more comprehensive plan for all this. So we are live in the Oakland Hills. Wilson Walker, KPIX 5.
All right, hopefully it won't happen again. 3,500 homes were destroyed in just a couple of days. Wilson Walker, thank you, Wilson.